everybody, it's John from Seattle Coffee Gear here. We are in the commercial kitchen. We're doing a more in-depth look at the RE Doppia. We did put up a video a little bit ago that was an overview of this machine. Today we're gonna do an in-depth look, really get into the details, get into the programming. We did look at the internals of this machine in our heat exchanger versus dual boiler machine. So if you want to see what the insides of this machine look like, take a look at that video because we're not going to be taking the top off this one today, but we are going to look at the programming and do a pretty in-depth look. I do want to start this off with kind of a disclaimer that the programming should only be done by like a cafe manager or somebody who owns this machine. If you're a barista and you're watching this and you're gonna make some changes to your own machine, do not do any of this without talking to your boss, your manager, somebody. I'm not liable for anything you do to your machine. So now that that's over, let's talk about this machine. This is the new dual boiler machine from Rocket Espresso. Stainless steel boilers. This is the 2 group. It has a lot of the same design features and elements that Rocket puts on all their commercial machines, like these cool touch or no burn steam wands, the mix valve for the hot water. So the hot water is nice and controlled while it's going. Our overview video was on the Alto version of this, which has a lower drip tray. So you get more cup clearance. This is the non-Alto version. So you can see both and kind of compare them in the videos. This is the one that's going to be in the US. The Alto version will be special order, but this is the version that you're going to see going forward. You have 2 volumetric settings per group in the single shot and the double shot. And then you have a manual run button up here, and you also have a hot water dispensing button, and that is on both groups. As you can see there. And that is cool touch as well. Not as heavily insulated as the steam wands are, but this is still cool touch. These are fully saturated groups, so there's a large amount of water between the boiler and the group hanging out there, keeping everything at a really stable temperature. And it does have these lever controlled steam arms, which seem to hold in place pretty well. So once I turn it on, this doesn't really move, which is nice because then you can turn it on to your desired spot and kind of let go and really focus on frothing your pitcher of milk. These are, as I said, fully saturated groups, so they do require group bleeding. You can see how to do that or where that is on the video of the heat exchanger versus dual boiler. Now that we've talked about that, let's talk about some of the programming of this machine. This machine does have very similar programming to the R9. So we did a video on the programming of that machine where we go pretty in depth. Similar to that machine, the screen is actually underneath the drip tray here, but this has this cool little button that you press. And we'll get a closer up look of this in a moment. But the screen is underneath here, away from sight, so you can't see it. So we'll get more into that later on. You do have your temperature readouts up here on these angled group caps. And then once you're pulling a shot, that does time your shot. One thing that I'm not a big fan of is that number seems to go away pretty quickly, which is a little bit frustrating if you're working in a cafe. If you're only pulling shots and you're focusing on your shot times, then it doesn't matter as much, but I wish that would just stay up there a bit longer because you already have your temperature on one group here, so I wish that time would last a little bit longer. For the money, I'm okay with some of these things that aren't quite perfect because this offers a great value for the money. So we're really excited about that. Why don't we take a look at some of the programming and get really deep into that menu. We'll be right back. All right, I took the drip tray out of this machine so we can get a better look down here. I'm not sure if you can see this, but this is that button that pops the drip tray up so you can lift that up pretty easily. The mixing valve is in the same spot, which is down here, and you can adjust that with a screwdriver. Change your temperature on that. But this is our menu screen. So we have the name of the machine here. You can change that to whatever you want. We have the boiler pressure, that's the steam boiler pressure in the bar reading, and then the time right there as well. So to get into the programming menu on this machine, you first turn the machine off, and then you hold down the P button until it takes you into this menu right here. I do like how difficult it is to get into this menu because it keeps people who shouldn't be in this menu from getting into this menu. At this point, your one button up here and your water button become your scrolls. So if I change that, press that one button, it scrolls through all those languages there, and then the P button takes me to the next menu item. So I can change that letter, socket, back to rocket. I could also put a service number in here, which would be pretty cool if you're an installer setting up this machine and you want to put your number in there so people know who to call if their machine needs service. Press P again. This is pretty deep in the programming menu here now. So groups number is saying that this is the 2-group machine. I'm not going to change that or that. And that's the shot counter. Let's change this to espresso. I can't even tell if that's changing. Perfect. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And this is what I wanted to get to. So this is our pre-brew. The R9 has this as well, and this is a pretty cool function, especially on a machine at this price point. But this is kind of the bloom function where you can send a little bit of water through, then pause, and then keep brewing. So kind of like a pre-infusion bloom, helps mitigate any channeling that you might be seeing. And then if I go over to here, it goes into my pre-brew menu. So this menu does go by tenths. So you can turn it on and then that pause, and you can change that duration of time by tenths. This was at 1 second, but I changed it to 1.5. So I can just go back and forth there, back down to 1.5. And that is my espresso, my 2 espressos. And then I have the rest of those as well. And that's all the ons. And out of there. And what you really don't want to mess with in here is your PID settings. So I'm not even going to touch those or any of these other settings in here. These should really only be accessed by a technician. So please, 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 please do not mess with any of those without the help of an actual technician. Because if you mess with those and you mess up your machine, please do not. Just don't get into that because you can actually cause some major damage to that. So make sure to have a technician if you're getting that deep into the menu with those PID settings or anything like that. If you're a barista, please don't change any of those settings without talking to your manager. And you can't say that John told you to, because I've said it a lot in this video that John did not tell you to. I'm going to put this back on and let's talk about programming the dose settings on this. We'll be right back. Now let's talk about how to program the doses or the volumetrics on this machine. This machine does have volumetrics, and it has 2 settings per group, as well as volumetrics for the hot water. If you program this group, it does transfer over to this group. The only thing that doesn't transfer is the hot water volume. So you do program the hot water independently on each group. So you can set these differently, or you can set them for the exact same thing like I normally do. To program the volumes, you hold down your P button until the P button is flashing, just like that. Now you are in your dose programming menu. And if either of these buttons are dark, it means that they've already been programmed within, I believe it's 24 hours. But these are both lit up, so they haven't been programmed yet. So we'll go ahead and do that. You have 30 seconds to program a shot once this button is flashing. So I'm going to get out of that screen, dose some coffee, and we'll come right back. Right now, here in the commercial kitchen, we have the new E65S from Malkonig. It's their 65mm flat burr grinder. Really been enjoying having it here. We did a review of it as well, so make sure to check that out on our YouTube channel. We're serving some coffee from Toca Coffee. It's their espresso blend. It's a little bit darker, but I've been liking it. Great in lattes and such. So I was playing this earlier, about an 18.5 gram dose. So that's 17.2. So I'm going to up that for later, but for now, let's see what we can get to. There's 18 and 18.8, 18.5. All right, I'm going to dose this out here. Because this is a darker coffee, I've been pulling it a little bit short. So just under 30 grams out is what I've been aiming for. Ignore my dirty scale. Gonna get into that programming menu. And away we go. So now we're programming. We had that little pre-brew in there. It's counting the revolutions of the flow meter inside the machine. And let's stop it right there. So just about 30 grams in about 24 seconds. So that's on par with what I was doing earlier. And then tap that button 3 times. It takes you out of that programming menu and saves that dose and copies it to this group. So that's a base level of the programming there. Let me knock this puck out. Go ahead and rinse that. While I'm doing that, I'm going to put it back into the programming mode and show you that this button is now dark. So that means that that is programmed. So we'll program our hot water. Looks good to me. Program this hot water. That looks good to me. And then I'm also going to program this button here for a 3-second flush. And then I'm out of that menu there. In a second here, we're going to make some drinks on this, steam some milk and pour a latte. But first I want to talk about this new portafilter design. This is now a fully stainless steel portafilter. I mentioned it in the overview, and it also now has IMS precision baskets in it. Been really excited about this. This also is now at an angle. These are the portafilters that will now come on the R9 and the Doppia. So it really feels premium, has a good weight to it, will last a good amount of time. And I do also like the way that they designed these spouts over the previous portafilters. So these spouts do look pretty good. If you have an R9 or you have an older machine, these spouts or these portafilters should fit the R9. I'm not sure about the home machines, but great upgrade to an existing machine. Put that back in, and let's go ahead and make some drinks here. I'm all set to make some drinks. We're gonna do what I've been doing in the reviews, which is an espresso and then a cappuccino, just splitting that shot off. I have my milk prepared here, and let's get the shot. I'm still dosing at that 18.5 grams. And that is way over. Let's swipe some of that off. I'm a little short. It's probably too much. I hate it when I can't nail it right on. All right, 18.3, good enough for now. Settle that. Get that all tamped up. And then we'll use that one button that I programmed a second ago. Perfect. that. These cups were a little close together there. I'm also using this cool Fellow pitcher, new from them. So that was right about 30 grams. Which looks great to me. And let's make this little cappuccino. All right, there's my cappuccino. And here is my espresso. I'm gonna clean up and then we'll taste that. I unfortunately failed and did not bring a towel to clean that off, but I did purge it. Perfect. All right, let's go espresso first. This is a darker coffee. Yeah, that is delicious. And that's really chocolatey. Has a nice like almond, almost like Nutella, like a hazelnut flavor to it. Let's see how it is with milk. And that's delicious with milk. I've been really enjoying that. Sometimes I just like a good dark roast. Delicious coffee. Really excited about this machine. It offers a lot of features, a lot of value for the money. There's some things that probably need a little refinement that'll happen over time. But overall, just a solid machine. It'd be great for almost any coffee shop, in my opinion, especially if you want a really high quality machine and you don't have a ton of money to spend on your machine. This is going to be a great machine. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have questions or think I didn't cover something, you want to see more, leave us a comment down below. We really appreciate and like your feedback. Make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of our videos. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Have a great day.